It's already begun. Circle is not a sphere. Isaiah 40:22. Here we go.
Oh,
Flat
God.
Earth. The flat Earth.
Oh, no. Are you a flat earther?
Angels live on Jupiter and Venus. I guess you'll find out, huh? You really won't, though. You know how I do this. I don't give my opinion. That's not why I'm here. We will discuss it, though. Angels live on Jupiter and Venus. That is new to me. I'd be interested to hear about that.
I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
Is that a flat Earth thing, Nick? Do people believe that angels live on other planets? Are planets even there if you believe the Earth is flat? Isn't it a cut-off dome that goes nowhere? I am an angel and I live on this round Earth. You damn right, Jill. What's up? My bad, missing Sunday. Oh, Danny. Danny. Yeah, I'll get that sent out to him, Danny. Either, like I said, today or Monday at the latest.
Finally got that stain out of my carpet. I just said that out loud. Oh, well.
You sure did. Everybody knows you have very nice carpets. Music is so loud. Okay. That's all y'all gotta say, man. Just say, hey, music too loud. You got it.
Yeah,
you got it.
My carpet.
I don't even think they heard you because I had the music too loud, so you're safe.
Dope.
Flap those
Love
angel wings, girl.
Love it. Thought I saw Drew online, but I might be lying.
Drew, I think Thursdays is when he can't come. Or is Thursday when he can come. And Sunday's when he can't come.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I don't remember.
No, he's not online.
Okay, guys, tell me real quick. Is Shannon's voice too loud? Is her voice okay? Is the music too loud? Is the music okay? Let me know now before we go so that we don't have to play with it later.
I'd rather not talk over you.
I just don't want anything to be blasting people's ear out.
That's facts.
When the sky opens, you won't see outer space. You will see heaven. Enoch says the phoenix and angels are around and in the sun, riding chariots. Round is not a sphere. A circle is round. Oh, Nick's going hard. Nick, I'm very excited. You've made me very excited. This will be very interesting.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, this is I did a long form kind of weird round table discussion with a group of people about this, and it was very interesting, to say the least. Very interesting. All right, what time is it? 6:02. We'll wait just a few more minutes and then we'll go. There's a lot to go over, and then I want there to be ample time to chat about it. Kind of see where things fall. All right, so while we wait, anybody who is interested, I'm going to throw a link to the Discord in here for y'all. If you ever want to come on and spit like Shannon, you can hear her right now. The reason you can hear her right now is because she's in Discord. She's in a voice channel. So what you can do is you can join Discord. It's obviously free. We don't ask you for money or anything weird. Link is in the chat there. Join Discord. And then if you go down to these little red circle channels right here, streams and lives, you can, sorry, I hear myself echoing in my ear and it's driving me insane. So you come down here, you join the voice event, mute yourself if you're not already muted. If you don't mute yourself, I will mute you, and then I will definitely forget to unmute you, so you will be muted forever. So when you come in, just make sure you're muted. And then when we go to the open discussion, we'll take turns and people can come on and actually talk. If you're not comfortable talking, just use the chat. I'll go through it at the end, and we'll cover stuff that way. Shannon, are you going to be here the whole time, or you got other stuff going on?
No, I'll be here.
Okay. Will you just keep an eye if anything good goes in the chat while I'm reading? Because I have a lot of notes to go over. Will you just tell me to shut up and look at it real quick?
Okay.
Sweet.
I don't know how to mute you on YouTube, but I'll try my best.
There's by the pause button, there's a volume thing and you can hit mute.
Okay, cool.
On YouTube, yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Graves. Yeah, so anybody who wants to get in Discord and not in Discord, there's a link in the chat, join there. And then if you want to actually talk during this, then go to the voice channel and you're good there. Otherwise, you know, there's a bunch of other stuff going on in Discord all the time. Just a good place to be. Then I think we are... Yeah, let's go. I want to burn through this so there's time. So first things first, real quick. Danny and Graves. Dude, Danny and Graves, you guys know each other? Or is this like a YouTube romance that's established here? I'm curious. Anyways, if you want to join Discord, go join Discord. Again, the link is in the chat right there. Recordings of all this, anytime we do it, if you go to the YouTube channel, you hit live. All of the past recordings of the Sunday Bible study, as well as these Thursday discussions, will all be in there. So you can look through them anytime. People are going back and watching the Enoch videos, like a lot, which is cool, because hopefully those people will start to catch on and join us when we do it live. And it'll make the conversation a little bit better. Like I said, if you do want to actually verbally come on and talk, it'll be at the end. I'll make it very obvious when it's time, after I go through all of what I'm going to go through, and then it'll be opened up. So if you want to come on and talk, you can. Otherwise, like I said, just put stuff in the chat. We'll keep an eye on it, and then at the end, we'll do like a full conversation, a full Q&A type discussion deal. If you do choose to come on with your voice, please be mindful of not sharing personal details, locations, information, anything that you do not want to be public. This is a live recording. I cannot take anything out, so don't ask. Don't say something you don't want to be said in public and saved in a recording to be used later. By coming on with your voice, you are giving me permission to do whatever I want with the voice. I don't usually repurpose it, but it will live forever on the YouTube channel. Today's topic is Flat Earth. Flat Earth specifically from a Christian perspective. However, we will dabble into some of the non-Christian conspiracy end because it relates to a degree and I know it interests people. So we're going to go there. But essentially, what is the issue? The issue is the Earth flat or is the Earth not flat? Specifically from a Christian perspective, and why. So if anybody has gone down the weird, in my opinion, awful rabbit holes on TikTok, let me be clear about this first, actually. I don't care if the Earth is flat or circular or a sphere. I don't care. It affects me zero. It affects theology, zero. It affects salvific law, zero. So it's something that I could not possibly care less about, which makes me a good mediator for this argument because I don't care. So we'll present, basically, most of the notes are going to come from the angle of flat Earth is not true. My hope for that is that there's some flat earthers here, which it seems like Nick, who I've never seen before. I assume he is because he seems pretty into it, and that's exactly what I wanted. I'm very excited to hear from Nick. I don't care. Just I want that to be abundantly, obviously, extremely clear. I'm not saying I don't believe in flat Earth when I go through my notes, but I had to kind of pick a side to write from and pull from. So that's the side we're coming from because that's the most common side. So my hope is that people come in and they push back about anything they've learned about flat Earth, things that they feel are valid and should be spoken about. That is the goal. So against the background of declining confidence in the elites, be that the political, be that scientific, be that religious, generalized elites, this flat Earth theory has lately, but definitely within the past 5 to 10 years, it started kind of butting its head, right? I started seeing it about 5 years ago on YouTube. I'm sure it existed before that. And as of the past couple of years, it's basically impossible to find anything positive about flat Earth on YouTube, on Google. They've done a really good algorithmic job of pushing it down so that it's very, very difficult to find. So within the past couple of years, we got TikTok, right? TikTok's algorithm works differently. They don't necessarily try to control what you see. More or less, TikTok just cares about views. And they're very in the middle about it. From my experience and my understanding of their algorithm is they allow pretty much whatever within reason, and even kind of out of reason, but within reason, they allow pretty much whatever people are willing to watch until the end, they will push that to high hell. And so flat Earth has become one of those things. That is also how Enoch has gotten so much attention over the past handful of years. It's primarily because of TikTok, because it gets shoved down in other algorithms. So unfortunately, it's been noted that many Christians have become completely swept up in the trend of conspiracy. I say unfortunately because there's a very large portion of it that is easy to prove is theological garbage. I'm not saying flat Earth is one of them because I think there are good arguments kind of either way, regardless of which way you personally lean or think there's more arguments. But the problem is that Christians have become kind of roped into this conspiracy island, where now there's a very heavy Christian presence within the conspiracy world. And a lot of stuff in the conspiracy world is just trash, especially when it comes to Christianity. We have all these weird ideas about the Bible now, all these weird ideas about Christian history that never really existed before. And now they do because of the way that TikTok's algorithm works. But these Christians have been swept up into the trend using what I would call very shaky theological arguments to make points. The Christians who claim that, in this case, the earth is flat, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate on the non-flat earth side, but that does not reflect my actual views because I do not care. So they claim that the earth is flat. A single Bible verse is considered superior to any number of scientific arguments, which then takes us into this whole thing is, well, what do we trust more? Do we trust the Bible more, or do we trust science more? And then you have to get into that deeper conversation of, okay, if we trust the Bible more, are we able to admit that the Bible does include errors? Because it absolutely does. Or are we going to look at the Bible and say, okay, it's absolutely inerrant, there's no errors whatsoever, which would put you in a position of having to openly, blatantly admit that things we absolutely know are not scientifically true, or just in reality true, are true because the Bible said so and was written by X, Y, and Z many, many years ago. In response to the concerning trend that we're seeing with things like this, what we're going to do is focus on some of the Bible verses that are most commonly or most frequently referenced by Christian proponents of the flat earth theory. So people who are in that camp, we're gonna zone in on those. We're going to go at it from the opposing side. Therefore, we're going to cover both ends and get a fairly decent view of the entire thing. So there are teachers and theologians who have carefully analyzed the subject, and their conclusions are worth the attention of honest and open-minded Christians investigating the topic, which is absolutely true. This is something to look at. It's something to look at. And we're going to talk about later. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But later. Two of these prominent men are Dr. Danny Faulkner, a creationist who specializes in mathematics and physics and has a PhD in astronomy. Also, Dr. Randall Yonker, professor of archaeology and history of antiquity at Andrews University in the US. So the first thing to cover here would be the four corners of the earth. There are 3 verses total in the Bible that are often quoted by Christian proponents of the flat earth theory. The first comes out of my favorite book, and I hope you sense the sarcasm. Revelation 7:1 says this, "And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth. And the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree." The repetition of the number 4 creates a very obvious connection between 4 angels, 4 corners, and 4 cardinal points from which the winds are about to blow, which would be north, south, east, and west. As Faulkner, one of these prominent, both theologian and scientist, points out, he says, not even a hyper-literal interpretation of the Bible can disregard the symbolism of the book of Revelation. I hope that we all know that. Whether you're a flat earther or not, we all need to be open and honest enough to say Revelation is literally just a book of symbolism. It is almost entirely symbolic. Are there literal things in there? Perhaps. Are they the majority? Not even close. Are they 50%? Not even close. It is vast majority symbolism, which is why it's one of the most confusing and obnoxious books to read in the Bible, because you can interpret it about a million different ways, and nobody is more right than anybody else because there is absolutely nothing to base it in. You have very little other biblical references to connect dots to make any actual literal sense of it. But as we've kind of discussed since we're going through Enoch, the reason I like Enoch more is because it's less symbolism, but it still ties in fairly well. I believe, as I've told you guys previously, and agree with me or don't, I think Revelation was left in as our prominent prophetic book because it's confusing, because it doesn't give you answers, because it just makes you have more questions. And I believe books like Enoch were taken out because they give you a lot of answers. They give you a lot more answers. That is a personal opinion. I know that a lot of people don't share that opinion, and that's fine. The 4 corners of the earth is an expression, however, that we all also need to be open and honest about, is widely used in a bunch of different languages, but as always, in most cases, it has the meaning is to indicate the furthest point on earth or a great distance, not literal corners, not a literal corner. Plus, the other thing to keep in mind is that flat earthers, most of them, don't believe the flat earth is a square. Therefore, it has no corners. So we have to be able to separate the symbolism. So one,
Go
again.
ahead and take a look at the chat.
Okay, is there one specifically?
There's a lot of questions.
Oh, lovely.
Some are about Joshua. You brought up, let's see, there was one about, oh goodness, now I'm lost in the sauce. Oh, what about the squared circle Earth?
What about it? I guess would be my response. What about it? And just y'all remember, there's a lot here. So half of this, I'm sure that we'll answer. So some of it I might not answer now because we're going to get to it, and I don't want to have to repeat myself or go in circles. But let me see if there's anything else. If the Bible is flawed, does that mean the Word of God is flawed? Meaning God is imperfect? Well, the Word of God is not God unless you take the poetic verse literally. We could do a whole thing on that, but I mean the Bible is flawed. Period. What you take from that can go a lot of different ways. But in my opinion, from a realistic worldview, it's absolutely flawed. They called things mammals that weren't mammals. We learned later they were. There's mistakes in them, and they're not all in bad nature. Some of them is just they didn't have information, but it's still a flaw. It's still something that is not correct.
That's fair. I was just making sure, like, I was playing devil's advocate in case of for those viewers that are not Christians and are trying to either get into it or trying to learn from it. Just maybe a question that might have come up with them.
That's a solid question. Yeah. That's a super common question for sure. I kind of saw something on that just today. Can't say I know anything about it. 24 slices of triangles are the time zones. Oh, I don't have anything about that, but that is an interesting deal. Why are the other planets round? Yeah, but are they, Jalen? That's kind of the thing. If we're being taught that the Earth is round or a sphere, whatever you want to say, why wouldn't, I guess if we're taught the Earth is round and we're taught planets are round, but then you come to believe that the Earth is not round, or that it's not a sphere at least, then why would it not make you think that the other planets were also being lied to about? I guess is what I'm saying. So if we're being taught something about Earth that is not true, why would we then take what we're being taught about other planets to be true? That doesn't make sense. It's the same people. So if they're lying, they're probably lying about all of it, right? Joshua did not stop the Earth. He stopped the sun and the moon. Oh, Nick and Teal are going to go at it right here. All right, yeah, I'll come back. Let me get through a little bit more of this. All right. All right, so this is also the context in which the expression. So again, we're talking about the symbolism and revelation. We're talking about that the four corners of the earth it's a very normal turn of phrase that usually is used to indicate either the furthest point on earth or a great distance. It's usually not used in context as literal corners. And again, flat earthers do not believe that the earth is a square. So there are no corners. It is round edged, right? So moving on. This is also the context which the expression appears in the second verse that is often cited, which comes from still my favorite book with full sarcasm, Revelation 28, which states that the devil will go out to deceive the nations, the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, and to gather them for battle, In number, they are like the sand on the seashore. So just another reference to the four corners. The fact that the same sentence also mentions the number of people in the four corners as being as numerous as the sand on the seashore supports what we would consider to be a non-literal understanding of the text, right? And still, I feel like that's something we're deciding that we should already know. We don't need to decide. We're pulling from Revelation. It's almost entirely symbolism. But if somebody forces you to break it down even further than that, then yeah, if in the same sentence it says four corners of the earth and then says people as great as the sand on the seashore, that's not literal. Let me take that back. It's more than likely not literal. I don't like to speak in absolutes. It's more than likely not literal. So one, you're basing it off of an almost entirely symbolic book. And then two, even within a shorter context, a single sentence, you have more symbolism. You have a direct illustration of something that is usually not to be taken literal, right? Usually. The alternative, though, is to believe that the text is speaking of 4 literal corners containing a number of people mathematically equal to the sum of the grains of sand on all the shores of the earth. Mathematically, those people wouldn't fit, just in case you were wondering. They wouldn't fit. So then you would have to denote that, okay, well, maybe it wasn't exactly literal, but maybe it was just emphatic to try to say that it was a whole bunch of people, but not literally as many grains of sand as there are on the seashores of the whole world. Sure, but then you're beginning to completely break down the argument right there in and of itself, in my opinion. And again, I don't think this says anything about flat earth theory. I think this says something about using the Bible to decide the flat earth is true. The final time this expression is used in Isaiah 11:12, which speaks of God bringing the Israelites together, stating, "He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble these scattered people of Judah from the 4 corners of the earth." In many other cases in which the expression appears in the Bible, that expression, there is talk not of a place, but of the actual people who live in faraway lands. That is the more common expression, thus strengthening the non-literal understanding of the expression, the non-literal understanding of that expression. Once the idiomatic use of that exact expression is in a passage is acknowledged, once we've acknowledged the idiomatic use of it, it's really hard to try to say or push or claim that the other similar situation is used differently. So once we've decided idiomatically that this is what this means, if we then don't apply that same rule to other sections of almost or identical situation, it's poor exegesis. You're picking and choosing, we're cherry picking. We're doing what we don't like Christians to do. So don't do that. In some translations of the Bible, mentions of the 4 corners of the earth appear almost 30 times. If understood literally, would not only suggest that the earth is flat, but also that it is a square. There is no cosmology in which the earth is square. Not even followers, like I've said a few times, of the flat earth theory claim such a thing. This, once again, is kind of highlighting the non-literal interpretations of the phrases. So if in these Bibles, because they do exist, where you have more than or almost 30 references to the 4 corners of the earth, if you take those Bibles and say that they're true, it still gives you an outcome that doesn't align with the flat earth theory. It gives you a square earth. And again, the flat earth society or just the flat earth theorists, they don't believe the earth is a square. So now we have 3 possibilities, at least. We have a flat circle, we have a flat square, or we have a sphere, like all of us, most of us, have been taught to believe since a very young age. Now going into the flat surface of the earth, the flat earth society. How are you able to tell if the earth is either flat or round? According to some of the flat earthers, if you climb to the highest point and you can see everything to the edge of the earth, then it is flat. This idea of the ends of the earth, quoted in the Bible, which comes out of Daniel 4:10 through 11, it says, these are the visions I saw while lying in bed. I looked, and there before me are the visions. Look before me stood a tree in the middle of the land. Its height was enormous. The tree grew large and strong, and its top touched the sky. It was visible to the ends of the earth. On a round earth, it would not be possible for such a tree to be visible from anywhere on earth. Does this Bible verse then say that the earth is flat? So what is he saying? In Daniel, he's saying there is an enormous tree that is so high it touches the sky, and it is visible to the ends of the earth. So the literal interpretation is that no matter where you are on earth, you can see this tree, and you can see that it goes all the way up to the sky. That's real high. The idea here is that if the earth is round, that wouldn't be possible, right? If you were on the other side of the earth, you would not be able to see the tree up here that extends to the sky. In reality, however, from the non-flat earther side, the text does not refer to a physical reality, and I personally agree with, at the very least, this. It's not talking about a physical reality. Rather, it is the description of a dream of King Nebuchadnezzar. As most of us know, or all of us know, perhaps, dreams do not abide by the laws of physics. Everybody has had a weird dream where you're trudging through a marshmallow forest in your flip-flops and you're screaming at the top of your lungs and somebody's chasing you and you try to punch them and you can't punch them. They're not based in reality. They're not based in the laws of physics. The Bible is actually extremely clear about this passage. I'd say the Bible is relatively clear about this passage. The dream, as interpreted by Daniel, refers to something completely different to a physical tree on earth. The tree in the dream actually, and again, I adhere to this, a different interpretation that I adhere to is he's talking about Nebuchadnezzar himself. He's not talking about a tree. He's talking about Nebuchadnezzar. If he's talking about a tree, then you're back to is it literal? Is it figurative? Is it an illustration? What is the author trying to get across? And you're stuck in the same kind of normal biblical figurings out, right? Another Bible passage which is interpreted in a similar way is the one in Matthew 4, in which Jesus, tempted by the devil in the desert, is at some point brought to a very high mountain, where the devil showed him all the kingdoms of the world. The same logic we just applied to the tall tree would then be applied here. If the whole earth could be seen from the top of the mountain, we would conclude that the earth is flat, right? It makes sense. However, if there was a literal mountain from which the entire earth could be seen in Jesus' time, where is this mountain? Where is it now? And why can't anybody see it? Is it a magical mountain that receded into the earth? Where is it at? There is no evidence in Palestine's geographical history or any literature for the existence of this mountain that is higher than any other mountain in the world from which you can see the entire world. So in that kind of situation, you have to be able to recognize that the situation recounted in the gospel includes supernatural elements, which is it's not weird. It's not odd. It happens all the time. The Bible is full of supernatural elements all the time. Something Luke also alluded to, actually, when he says that the devil showed Jesus all the kingdoms of the world in an instant. That is a supernatural element. For us to be thrown off or made to question or wonder about supernatural elements from a book that is absolutely chock full of supernatural elements is weird. It means you're cherry picking. You're picking and choosing which supernatural elements you want to take literal because they feed what you want to believe. That's not the thing to do. It's not the thing to do. All right, I'm going to look at the chat real quick, and then we're going to go into the firmament. And then after the firmament, then we'll go into the Bible, a little bit more on flat earth theory, a little bit of history of it, and then we're going to hit some Disney conspiracy flat earth stuff. Just because I know you're going to love it. That's really the only reason why. All right, let me see real quick if I've missed anything here. All right. I don't know. I've seen Saturn through the Griffith Park Observatory before, and it definitely looked like a sphere. Yeah, but Danny, do the manufacturers of telescopes put filters on the telescopes to make the planets that are otherwise flat and square, make them look like sphere? Do they, though? That would be my question to you. But when we see the planets through a telescope, they're all round. Why then would Earth not be round also? Teal, same question back to you. The government obviously puts a super filter on all telescopes manufactured anywhere in the world that makes square planets look round. It's the only thing that makes sense. I just can't fathom the firmament, but I believe we've at least have unmanned crafts in space. They could not get past the firmament considering its description. Unless the description is a supernatural description and not a literal description, not a supernatural, I'm sorry, an illustrative description rather than a literal description. And maybe we have no idea what the actual firmament is, what it consists of, right? Maybe we have no idea. NASA, modern astronomy is the new Tower of Babel. That honestly, I agree with to a point, Nick. I can't say I agree with most of what you said because honestly, a lot of it goes over my head because it's not my strong suit. Because like I said, I just don't really care. But I have zero faith in NASA. Zero. They've been caught lying way too many times. So, albeit not my strong suit, I've seen enough evidence that NASA's full of trash to at least be very open to questioning anything that comes from NASA, which means basically questioning anything about space, which I do. The boat theory, the further out to sea it goes, the less you see from the bottom up. Flat Earth, you'd see all of it until it got too dark, too far. Got it. That's an assumption. If it were a sphere, we would have footage of ships going under the Earth in an upside down perspective. Ghost says, damn, I'm late. Yeah, bro, you're late. This was not the one to be late to. What are plebs seeing through a telescope then? They are seeing from a flat perspective you assume is spherical. You made the ghosty gate. Ghost, it's good to see you, man. What's beyond the Arctic wall? Yes, that's something I am interested in. That is something I'm interested in, which I get how it ties to the flat Earth idea, but I also believe you could be very curious about the Arctic walls and still believe the Earth is round. Just to be clear about that, I'm real interested in the Arctic wall thing. That is a conspiracy I'm very, 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 very interested in. Fisheye lens. If a toroidal field isn't flat, then the Earth isn't flat. Solved. Boom. Go solve the entire stream in about 30 seconds flat. Don't forget Adam and Eve theory. Adam and Eve theory. Show me footage of ship going under the Earth upside down. You can't. Okay, there's no real way to argue that. Why did NASA stop exploring the ocean? This is what I want to know. And then I'm going to go back to reading and going through the notes. This is what I want to know, though. Why have we not gone back to space? Like, I get what Elon Musk is doing, cool. But we made a real big deal years and years and years ago about how we had the technology and capability to go to space, and then we went to space, right? Now we literally are so technologically advanced, we're about to have computers take half of the world's jobs. I have used AI extensively. If you have not, it would scare the absolute shit out of you, and excuse my swearing. It is horrifying. It's horrific. So if we have AI that could literally replace me, it could write all my notes for me, and I have tried it. Why have we not gone back to space? Publicly. Like as a big America thing, like America, let's go to space. It was a big thing. It's ridiculous. That part I find absolutely ridiculous. I'm getting my tinfoil hat ready. They are seeing ships go under the Earth, obviously. What is that? What do you mean? They're seeing ships go under the Earth? A picture of ships going under the Earth wouldn't work because these ships can't sail through Antarctica. Also, if there was no continent there, a picture of the ship would look a picture. Like a picture? The firmament glass dome. Arctic Treaty exists so people can't find the firmament. So from Nick, since you're here, and I appreciate that you're here genuinely, I'm not being sarcastic at all. I'm very happy you're here because you come from the other side. It seems like everybody's kind of arguing with you. I just want you to know, Nick, I'm super happy you're here. I love you. I appreciate you bringing your perspective because that's what I was hoping for. So is the flat Earth idea then, is Antarctica just below the firmament? Is that how that works? Because the flat Earth maps, I like from memory, I don't remember seeing them like that. The Arctic Circle is the boundary. Okay, so it's like Earth, people, trees, blah, blah, blah. And then the dome second question, is the dome the firmament? Or does the dome preface the firmament? So is there a dome and then firmament outside the dome? So if you pierce the dome, do you hit the firmament? Or is dome just another term for the firmament? Because I've seen that go both ways too, depending on like who you're reading. All right, I'm going to go back to this. You guys keep being crazy, and I mean that in an endearing way. The firmament in the cosmology of the flat Earth, I might answer my own questions here. A disc-shaped planet is covered by a dome whose edges stop just beyond the 45-meter high ice wall of Antarctica, which surrounds the Earth. The stars are fixed on this dome, while the sun and the moon, which are only about 50 kilometers in diameter, revolve about 5,000 kilometers above the Earth. 1 second. All right, the idea of this dome is born in the intersection of three arguments. Professor Yonker explains one, rakya, which is the Hebrew word for sky, and you see that in Genesis 1, would somehow imply the need for a solid metal-like material. Two, subsequent translations of the biblical term in the Greek, stereoma, the Latin firmamentum, versions keep the idea of a solid material. Three, ancient Jews would have supported this cosmology like their Mesopotamian neighbors. The three arguments starting from the second one. Most likely, rakuas, translated into Greek, and from there into Latin, so as to preserve the meaning of a solid object, because this meaning suited the cosmology of the Greeks, the scientists of the time. The Greeks were the scientists of the time. We must not ignore who made the translations. That's super important. And now we're going to talk about the Septuagint. Okay? The first version of the Septuagint, and if you don't know what it is, it's the Old Testament in Greek, were ordered by Philio. I'm going to try to say this right. You guys know I hate pronouncing words. Old names. Philadelphus. Best I got, y'all. It sounds like Snuffleupagus, the son of the founder of the Kingdom of Egypt, or the famous library in Alexandria. Starting in the 6th century BC, the Greeks based their distances on the models of the disc-shaped planet and were evolving to the sphere model, not half spheres or domes, full sphere. Therefore, the idea that the Earth was contained in one or more solid spheres was common in the academic environment in Alexandria when the Septuagint was translated, and quote, is undoubtedly the main factor rather than etymology in translators choosing the word stereomato, translate rakia, Professor Yonker says. So what is this saying, in case some of that was confusing to you? It's basically just like things like the King James, Bibles were translated in a biased manner. That's the easiest, most plain and blunt way to say it. Bibles were translated in a did I say Bible? Yeah, Bibles were translated in a biased manner, meaning King James liked certain things. Therefore, he put those things in there. Who translated the Septuagint liked certain things. Therefore, he put things in there. The Septuagint is much less like King James. It was more of what were the beliefs of the time? What did academics believe during that time? And what were the popular understandings of things during that time? And therefore, they translate based on what makes the most sense for what they believe to be true, and then a little bit of bias, because we're human. It's always there. It's always present. Regarding the first argument, it must be mentioned that the Hebrew, the verb raka, which is a derivative of the noun rakia, points to the actions of the making something thin by stretching it and has no intrinsic meaning, which would make someone think about a form or a material. I'm going to read that again. We're talking about the firmament. We're talking about the first argument. It needs to be mentioned that in Hebrew, the verb raka, which is derivative of the noun rakia, points to the actions of making something thin by stretching it and has no intrinsic meaning, which would make someone think about a form or material, for instance, metal. Rakias, used as a verb for objects like tent, clothes, and other fabrics, for which the idea of stretching actually does make sense. Dr. Faulkner explains that this is why modern theologians have concluded that rakia must be translated sky, a vast expanse of space that includes not only the sun and moon, but also the moon's atmosphere in which birds fly. Since Genesis 1:14 and 1:20 both use the same word, rakia, to refer to two different situations. which is true if you do a word study. It refers to two totally different situations. The third argument, according to which ancient Jews would have had the same cosmology as their Mesopotamian neighbors, namely that the earth is flat and covered by a solid dome, is twice wrong from the non-flat earth perspective. First of all, this argument is not wrong because, is wrong from their view, because Mesopotamians, although they supported the flat earth theory, had never referenced in any of their literature a dome. This incorrect idea was introduced in the 1850s by Hormuzd Rassam and used by other historians who at the time were trying to sketch the landscape of ancient cosmologies. According to them, during their Babylonian exile, Jews would have assimilated these ideas into their cosmology. However, in 1975, when the specialist in the Assyriology, W.G. Lambert, tried to establish the origin of the idea that the Babylonians believed that the earth was covered by a dome, Lambert did not find any historical proof until the works of the Assyriologists, specialists in the second half of the 19th century, which is way too young. The first ones to translate the Babylonian word for sky is as celestial vault. Celestial vault is the Babylonian word or term for sky. On the contrary, the Babylonians saw the cosmos as a series of objects, flat layers piled upon one another and held together by ropes. If you ever Google a picture of it, it's kind of wild to look at it. Flat layers piled up one on top of the other, and they are held together by ropes, like stringed together, with no mention of a tri-dimensional dome. The reality is that there is no term to describe a celestial vault in ancient Mesopotamia. So this idea that the Jews would have contracted this flat earth ideology or theory from Mesopotamian neighbors in their areas, from their view here, they're saying is inaccurate because we didn't really have any depictions from a Babylonian or Mesopotamian end until like really, really, really late. The 1800s, but more so the 1900s, which is entirely too late to try to apply it to ancient Judaism. The second error here is to assume without valid historical arguments that we know what kind of cosmology ancient Jews used at all. The oldest Jewish writings on this topic date from the medieval period and reflect the cosmology of that time, namely geocentrism, Faulkner says. Therefore, at the time the Greek translation of the Old Testament, which again, if you don't know, is the Septuagint, was written, we can at most only assume what the Hellenized Jews in the diaspora believed, since many of them lived in Alexandria, which is where the Septuagint was put together, Egypt, one of the educational and cultural centers of the Greek world. They most likely assimilated the translation rakia with stereoma, not, however, the meaning only introduced in the 1850s. The 1850s. That's so young. So young when we're trying to consider or look at ideologies from a Septuagint view, from an Old Testament view. What did they think back then? Is it valid now? What do we take? What do we leave? The 1800s and the 1900s is very, very, very young. But the meaning understood by the Greeks of that time, a spherical earth contained in solid spheres. All right, let me burn through this real quick. So there's a little bit here on the Bible on the flat earth theory and a quick history. And again, some of this I agree with, some of it I don't, but it captures the full view of what we're talking about. Perhaps the final argument from the flat earth camp is that up until 500 years ago, the church supported the model of a flat earth, as many still do today. Again, for the most part, this is wrong. As we will see shortly, the church never claimed that the earth is flat, but supported the theory of geocentrism, which says that the earth stands still and the moon, stars, and sun revolve around it. placing humans at the center of creation. This generated the conflict between the heliocentrist Galileo, and the church. So where did this long-standing false idea of a conflict between Christianity and science on this point come from? It comes from an attempt to discredit the Bible at the end of the 19th century. Again, so says Faulkner. If you are familiar with the Flammarion engraving, which is a very well-known illustration of the flat earth, it's got the dome covering it, you might believe it because it looks good. It originates from the medieval period. That's what you're told. But there are people who say it actually just dates to the 1880s, which would align with where some of, again, just some people believe much of the rest of this ideology came from. The big belief is that most of this really came to fruition in the late 1800s into the 19th century. Such illustrations of a religious or scientific origin are almost non-existent in the medieval period, because during the medieval ages, almost nobody believed the earth was flat, not even the church leaders. So says this side of the camp. Therefore, if the proponents of the flat earth theory are geocentrists, it is important to know that from a historical point of view, the converse is not true. And just understand, geocentrist, it's a very different thing than flat earth. It's not the same thing. A possible explanation for the geocentric model remaining as the preferred model for such a long time, although the Greeks developed almost in parallel geocentric and heliocentric cosmological models, is that the terminology of the time is not advanced enough to provide evidence in favor of the heliocentric model. For observers in that time, the sun and planets seem to revolve around a stationary Earth, which is true. If you go through history, that is what a lot of people believed, is that we were the center of the universe. Shocking, people being selfish. We're the center of the universe. Everything else revolves around us, right? It's not a hard thing to believe that that's what we thought. It kind of makes sense with the way that we are. Without an external reference point, any observer might draw a similar conclusion today. It's reasonable. For instance, a passenger in a moving train or carriage might believe that the train on the next line is the one that actually started moving. The idea that the heliocentric theory had supporters everywhere except in the church is completely false from this side of the camp. Copernicus dedicated his famous work on heliocentrism to Pope Paul II. Just as false is the assumption that the church rejected heliocentrism based only on biblical arguments. The church, both Catholics and Protestants, rejected the theory of heliocentrism because it was contrary to the science of the time and did not offer comprehensive and satisfactory answers. The geocentric model had dominated the world for more than 1,500 years and made sense to most people, according to what could be observed prior to the invention of the telescope, as the Greeks before them, neither Copernicus nor Galileo managed to solve the severe flaws in the heliocentric model due to the lack of a more advanced technology. Super interesting. Why problems still existed on an empirical level, however, their calculation models for determining the position of the planets were advanced. Unfortunately, the limitations of direct observation at the time prevented these beliefs from becoming scientific consensus. Therefore, 60 years after Copernicus had published his theory, got any glasses, only 10 other authors with supportive works had emerged. Let's see if this is worth it. Yeah, it would have been a big leap of faith for the church to give up geocentrism when not even the scientific word had reached a positive consensus. Let us remember that it was a period in which the individual interpretation of Scripture was a delicate subject for the Catholic Church. Keep that in mind. Again, just like reading the Bible, when you're trying to decipher some kind of historical thing, you have to put yourself back in the shoes of the people of the time. So during this period that we're talking about right now, you have to remember that it was a period in which this idea of individual interpretation of the scriptures was a real touchy thing, right? Because for the Catholic Church, which had just gone through the Protestant Reformation, so individual interpretation of scripture was like a real hot topic. That's a hot button topic at the moment. So you got to look through it at that lens. This is why when it hit the theological arena, the debate of Galileo's ideas ended the way they did. Meanwhile, technology proved Galileo right, and geocentric systems have been, for the most part, completely forgotten about. Only much later did the Catholic Church admit its guilt in one of the more infamous incidents in history. Okay. So let me look through the chat real quick. I got a video that I want to play you guys. It's like 2 minutes long. And then we'll go back in. And then we'll open like discussion. That's most of what I have that I feel like is worth bringing here. Let me go through that actually real quick. The Bible does not promote a specific cosmology. It is people who put together different passages to make up a cosmology. The fact that it does not promote a specific cosmology may even be a good thing. And I absolutely agree with that. If the scriptures supported a specific cosmology, ancient or modern, those who believed otherwise would have had reason to renounce the Bible. Some do this today because they learn from unreliable sources that the Bible teaches the earth is flat. Again, remember, this is from an anti-flat earth ideology. However, as discussed above, this is not what the Bible teaches, but what people have read into it from their view. Now, from the flat earth view, it is what the Bible teaches. And if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, well, everything we read tonight sounds legit, therefore, that's what I believe, then, yeah, I mean, you're wrong. Just, you might be right about the earth, but you're wrong in the way you're addressing an issue. Either way, you need to understand why people believe what they believe, even if you disagree with them. From a flat earth perspective, they're taking the Bible very literally. There are plenty of groups of Christians who are not flat earthers who still take the Bible insanely literally. And granted, in my opinion, it causes tons of problems because the Bible is just historically and as a matter of fact is not a literal book. It's not. None of them are. You could argue some of the majority of the Gospels, pastoral epistles, these types of things in the New Testament, there's embellishment. Still, there's references to measurements that are just not true. There's things that it's not reality. It's not reality. But move into the Old Testament, you have a lot of symbolism. In New Testament, again, go to Revelation. It's all symbolism. It's all symbolism. So I think there's an issue with taking the Bible too literally, but there's an equal issue with not taking anything in the Bible literally, because then it's just a fairy tale, right? And that is the tightrope walk that Christians are stuck on, which is, like, granted, that's why Christianity, if you're anybody who even uses their brain at half mass, is hard. Because it's usually people who are easily brainwashed, great Christians. People who are super logical and analytical, usually bad Christians. That's kind of the way it is. Now you get those people in the middle, which I believe most of you are people in the middle where you have logic, you have ration, you have reason, and that's why you have a million questions. You're working constantly to try to make sense of the Bible. What is symbology? What is not? What is an illustration? What is not? What is literal and what is not? And this whole issue of flat earth is really no different, man. It's really no different. But just understand whether you believe it's flat or whether you don't. Understand why the people who do believe it's the opposite of your belief, why they're there. And they're allowed to be there. Even if you think it's silly, they're allowed to be there. All right, here's a quick question. I got this rifling through some Reddit posts on flat earth. It was a response. They were talking about just the validity of the flat earth. And then I'm going to hop in the chat here in a second. Just bear with me. It says this: I would agree that it's pretty clear that the common Hebrew or Jewish worldview included a flat earth model, as example presented in the book of Jonah. On the other hand, and this is my question to you guys too, does it matter? Are there any serious theological implications with regards to a flat earth in contrast to a spherical earth? Does the overall message of God's self-revelation change if we compare a flat earth model with a spherical earth model? Does it? That's what I was saying at the very beginning. I don't care about this because it changes absolutely nothing. Is it a fun thing to know or like a fun thing to try to learn about? Yeah, sure. Sure. Does it matter? Theologically, does it matter? Spiritually, does it matter? Does it matter about anything having to do with God? Anything having to do with the Bible? I mean, I would argue no, right? But that's the biggest question here is, does it even matter? Now, I'm going to scroll up and see if there was anything big I missed. Yeah, Nick, that's a good point. So I mentioned this in a short that I did yesterday or today. I can't remember. But so that, what is it? Genesis 1, 6, and 7, Nick, I think, where it mentions the firmament, right? Where you have the waters below and you have the waters above. And one of the most common ideas for flat Earth is that the Earth is this circle, right? And it's flat, obviously, and it's held up by pillars. Then you have other people who don't believe the pillars are there and it's just kind of floating or whatever. But that was a common belief of some of the older flat Earth people, is that there were pillars holding the flat Earth up, and then it had the firmament, and there was water below, and that the firmament was like holding the water above. It was a separation. And if you read certain translations of Genesis, that's what it says. That's what it says. It is what it is. But again, you guys know I'm not a person who takes Genesis literally to begin with. Waters can translate to currents. Think about the similarities between water and electrical language. Waves, current, torrent. That's an interesting note, man. Ghost is an academic. I'm a big fan. NASA is a front. I mean, it probably is. I laugh because it's true. Waters means waters. Oh, that's pretty simplistic. I think waters means more than waters. Genesis mentions waters above earth and waters below. Yes. I'm almost sure it's Genesis 1, 6, and 7. I still like the giant turtle holding up. Yes, dude, I'm so glad you said that. That's my favorite thing ever, is the turtle earth. It's a real big turtle, and he's got the earth on his back, and he's just carrying the earth around. I'm so glad you said that, because when I figured out we were doing this as the topic, that was the first thing I thought of. Zoom out, bro. Above and below is referring to fractals. The fractal theory. That is true. The underwater springs opened up and it rained. The ancients didn't write or speak as literally as we moderns do. It's all metaphor. That doesn't mean it's fake. It means they describe things differently than we do. And I agree with this, and you guys know I talk about this all the time. It's all metaphor. It's all metaphor. But the minute we say that, we have a lot of things we got to figure out. You got a lot of work to do. The minute you're able to admit that the Bible is full of non-literal metaphor, it kind of crashes down a lot of stories, a lot of embellishments, a lot of things like that. I love people realizing that. What I don't love is then when they're not able to admit other parts of the Bible that are absolutely metaphors. Well, I have to hop off. Oh, Teal, love you. Have a great night. What size is an atom-sized bit of an item relative to us? If you hold 5 items and give 5 away, how many would be left? Can that be divided? How does that relate? What are you trying to get at? Or is this just a riddle? Either way, I'm a fan of the question. The whole translation was guesswork. I mean, a lot of the translations had guesswork. That's kind of just the truth. Atoms can't be divided beyond Planck length. Okay, you got a bunch of scientists in here or what, man? Jeez. Atoms don't exist? What? Explain, Nick. Explain. Atoms don't exist. Yo, this is getting wild. I need to make popcorn when we do topics like this. With what we know by looking through a lens, atom is a size relative to the size of the size of something. Atoms may not exist in the way we thought 100 years ago, but they actually do exist. Do you think electricity is also fake, Nick? Honest question. If you have 5, give 5 away, you hold nothing. So if you have 5, then give 5 away, you hold nothing. If you don't have something, then it cannot be divided. It's because you don't have anything. I'm very excited for where this is going to go. Ghost, you got this, man. You got this. A solid argument, fam. I'm destroyed. Jesus Christ. Yeah, don't tell them to play nice. They're doing exactly what we're here for. I mean, yeah, be nice. Be nice. I that came out very poorly. Be nice 100%. But this is, I feel like it's relatively respectful. You're being relatively respectful. I mean, nobody be an asshole. How about that? Don't do that. I haven't seen that yet. But the banter back and forth, like, go at it. There is zero tolerance for disrespect. 100%. Stay respectful, 100%. But the light argument is totally fine. It's 100% fine. The minute it goes off the rails, then yeah, shut it down. Ghost, I'm trying to learn your model, bro. No need to get in your feels. Oh, okay. So you got 1 of 1, 1 of 2, on up to 9. Then said the tens, 1 of 11, and up to the said. Timothy, you got to slow down, man, because the typos are really throwing me off. I'm into this back and forth you guys got going on, but keep it clean. Keep it clean. When someone comes at me insincerely or sideways with dumb questions, they learn they are being like a jackass. Ah, well, welcome to the internet. You guys would be shocked if you saw the stuff that people say to me when I'm trying to talk about God. It's wild. Brush it off. Okay, brush it off. But if anybody's being a jackass, quote unquote, you can leave. That's fine. Or you will be forced to leave by somebody who has that ability. We need to have a debate. I will mediate. We will get Ghost and Timothy on a live debate. I would love this. I feel like it may matter. Would it not change some interpretations? Kat, what do you mean? You feel like what may matter? I probably missed it. I'm trying to catch up best I can. Does change the energy flow, go flat versus sphere, different vibrations. I mean, true. That's true. That's a good point. It does change the energy flow. But still, at the same time, if we don't know whether it's flat or spherical right now, then it doesn't really matter. I mean, if this is our reality and there's nothing we can do about it, if we live on the turtle on the flat earth, then this is the energy we have. So whether it's actually flat or actually circular, it doesn't matter because we've been functioning off of whatever this actually is, its energy the entire time. So if I found out it was a sphere when it was really flat, it doesn't change the energy. It's because it didn't change. It was always flat. I just learned that it was always flat when I thought it was a sphere. So the energy wouldn't change. If we were able to change the function of the earth from flat to spherical, then that would matter because then that would change the energy. But just me understanding that what I thought wasn't, doesn't change that I had that energy the whole time to begin with, right? The pillars are electromagnetism, just like everything else. Water and air are both all the same elements. What? Water and air are both all oh, okay. I read that wrong. Well, Echo said Turtle Earth. I think I may have found my next tattoo. Yeah, Kat, if you haven't seen the Turtle Earth pictures, you need to do a quick Google search because it's fantastic. Sarah, I love you. Have a good night. My experiences tell me that it's flat. Robert, you can't just say that and walk away. What experiences tell you that the earth is flat? Is it because you never feel like you're walking over a curl? Is that what you're saying? I see a sly joke coming from that, and I'm here for it. Don't go there, Joe. Where did I go? Where did I go? Read on. It was the name calling. Oh, I totally missed the name calling. I missed the name calling. I'm sorry. Motors Big and Small, 1971, and look up the Circle of Magnetism, 1968. All right, Timothy, you got it. I will look these things up and read them later. Boom, notes saved. There's no ET. Flat versus sphere may change interpretations. You mean interpretations of the Bible? So if the earth is flat, we would interpret the Bible one way. And if the earth was a sphere, we would interpret the Bible a different way. Is that what you're saying? The energy always radiates in a torus shape, like a donut or oblong sphere. That wouldn't work on a flat surface. That's an interesting thought too, actually. That's why this is all interesting to me, because it's not something I ever care to like dedicate time to. That's an interesting idea. Is that, yeah, I mean, that's true about energy, right? I'm going to be quiet and only with you all and everyone. Much love. Yeah, have a good night, man. Sorry you guys had a spat there. I didn't see anyone call anybody names though, so sorry. Otherwise I probably would have shut that down and not egged it on. That's my bad. I see my part. I apologize. Yes. Yes, but not in every single way, I don't think. Why would that matter? So if the earth was flat, why would I interpret the Bible one way? And if the earth was a sphere, why would I interpret the Bible a different way? Like, are there any fundamental theological or historical things, fundamental, essential, that would change based on the shape of the planet? I'm trying to think. It's like it's not a rhetorical question. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? So if the earth was flat, would that change how we interpret the Bible? On essentials, I don't care about non-essentials. On essential things, on fundamental things. Versus if the earth is a sphere, would that change how we interpret the Bible? Fundamentally and essentially? Our knowing if the earth was flat or sphere wouldn't change the energy, but it would not work. And we'd be different creatures with different energy. Yeah, that makes sense. And then what Ghost said, the energy always radiates in a torus shape, like a donut or an oblong sphere. That wouldn't work on the flat earth. That all makes sense. I get what you're saying now. Yes. So the idea then is that the energy wouldn't exist. Therefore, we wouldn't exist. That's like, I don't know. To me, energy is like twofold. Energy is like a spiritual thing, and energy is also like, I mean, still a spiritual thing, but like interpreted in a scientific manner. So is the idea that if the earth was flat, which phone is ringing? Oh, jeez. If the earth is flat, the energy would cease to exist. I mean, it wouldn't have ever existed, but it's not possible to have energy like we currently have if the earth were flat, because the energy wouldn't be able to radiate. Yeah, the earth shape is irrelevant when it comes to salvation. Yeah, salvific law, irrelevant. Theology, irrelevant. Curiosity, relevant. But it's a non-essential thing. Curiosity is a non-essential factor. I don't care if somebody calls me a name. I'm not that fragile. I agree. It's just lame in this setting. I'm glad we are all in agreement of that. Yes, it would. The planet expanded from within itself on the third day of creation, out from the sea, like popcorn. It would be significant if it was flat. So Gordon takes Genesis literally. So that's a good example. That's a good example. You have plenty of people who are they're just going to interpret the Bible literally. They're not going to see the metaphor. They're not going to see the symbolism. They're not going to see the illustrative nature of it. And that's fine. Because the reality is, how the earth came to be in that comment changes nothing essential. It changes nothing salvific. The only time you get into trouble in Genesis specifically, but it's kind of past the creation story, it's going into the creative nature of people, is it does have this possibility of affecting original sin, which is kind of an essential thing in the Christian faith, right? If you don't take the origin story of Adam and Eve, in theory, literally, you have an issue with the topic of original sin. However, you can say that the Adam and Eve story is a non-literal illustration of the origin of original sin, and then it keeps it intact. I don't want to answer simply because I'd derail the whole thing, but in essence, there's maps of land surrounding land masses that we know of, like past the ice wall. Oh, I remember. You showed me those. You should have given me those. I would have popped those up. Flat Earth, Christianity, and the bigger map that I can't remember the name of, then yes, it changed things. Girl, you should have given me those. We could have got into that. I'd like to bring flight paths to your attention. They don't make sense. Saw a video about it a long time ago, and man, makes you think. Yeah, actually, I've seen some stuff about the flight paths that kind of made me wonder. But I also, like, not a scientist. I don't deal in international relations. Where you're allowed to fly, at what time, when, how high, stuff like that. Nor do I deal with, like, geography. So for me to listen to some dude who also isn't any of those things tell me why flight paths don't make sense, I have a tendency to try to tell myself, like, dude, this ain't for you. You're not going to be the one to figure this out, Joe. But it is interesting because it doesn't seem like it makes any sense whatsoever. I've never cared about if the earth was flat or round. But this is also interesting to hear. Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Like, I'm in it right now, and I'll forget about it later. It doesn't directly affect me. So why would God create all the planets to be a sphere except for Earth? But that's just like earlier somebody said that. Why do you think they're all a sphere? I feel like flat earthers, I don't know this, I feel like they either think planets don't exist and it's like a simulation, or they believe that the planets we're being lied to about too, and they're also flat. And again, I could be totally wrong about that. That's what I remember hearing and reading. But actually, I forgot. I have a video, y'all. So I'm going to play this video for you guys. Now we're going totally into conspiracy land, okay? We're going to move away from the Bible for a minute so everybody can chill out. Nobody calling each other any names. I'm going to play a video. I'm saying right now, straight up, I do not subscribe to what I'm about to show you. I am not showing you this as me co-signing for the information, for the person, for what they're telling you. This is just an interesting thing. It just coincided with what we were talking about, and it's kind of fun. Okay? Okay. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. You guys tell me if it's way too loud, okay?
So I was thinking about Disney.
Uh-oh. Is that way too loud or is that good? Well, there it is. Ghost. I know. It just, well, does it show he's a flat earth? I mean, I guess, right? The firmament. The thing though, guys, too, is like, I have heard of an argument from non-flat earth about the firmament, right? And they'll still just take you to Genesis and say that the firmament is what separates the waters from the waters. And what they say the firmament is the atmosphere, what we call the atmosphere. And what they believe is that outside of the atmosphere is not zero gravity space, where if you throw something up there, it just starts to flow. They believe that there are waters outside of that, which is kind of terrifying to me personally. This idea that our entire world is surrounded by a thin layer of something, but the firmament, that if it were to get breached, we would just get crushed by water. Like a fish tank inside of a fish tank. It's a kind of horrifying thought. So I don't know if it shows you flat earther, but I think part of me thinks he's like kidding. It just seems like a stretch. To me personally, it seems like a stretch. Because sometimes it straight up just looks like a shooting star. But then some of these other videos I've seen are like, they're more convincing. I get it. It's more convincing. Still don't take it that serious though. What did I see? I saw Jalen say something. Jalen said something very honest and self-reflective, and I liked it a lot. The only reason I care is because I really like space. Call me stubborn, but I like to believe being there is possible. I like that because it's honest. It's honest. Please don't ever change, Jalen. Stay honest. That's such a good way to be. Realize your flaws. Like, I'm stubborn, and so I want this because of that. That's the first step in being able to, like, honestly and academically go into something. You have to be able to think that and know that about yourself. Not to question it, or else it's silly. That alone makes me curious, yeah. The UN symbol is of a flat Earth. Yeah, that is kind of an odd thing, too. What's the weird thing with NASA? Doesn't NASA have, like, something, not in their, like, planet symbol, but, oh, God, what was it, man? NASA's got something real weird, too. Like, some kind of symbology that is just, like, it's as if they're, like, trying to feed the conspiracies. Or maybe it wasn't NASA. Maybe it was somebody else. You missed the first comment? What was the first comment? Girl, I'm doing the best I can to keep up, okay? I will go up, don't worry. Flat Earth Christianity, I read that. But I like to bring flight paths. Girl, I read all your comments, Kat. Telescopes came into existence pre-flat Earth theory. The planet don't look like spheres nor circles. They look like blinking dots. I mean, that's fair. But they're at a great distance, right? That's the idea, at least. Funny how we have been conditioned to imagine the worst insult is to say someone is dumb as a flat earther. Yeah, see, that I don't like. That I don't like. I don't think I buy the flat earth thing. Again, I don't really care because it affects nothing for me spiritually. It affects nothing for me emotionally. It affects nothing for me physically because I've been living this long and haven't been affected. And it affects me zero theologically. These are all the things I care about. It doesn't affect those things, at least not that I'm aware of. So if I'm not even aware of it, then it's not affecting it that much. If some kind of evidence came out that was like, hey, if you guys all realize that the earth is flat and y'all get on the same page, you can go past the Arctic wall and you will be in heaven. Then I'll be like, oh, okay, well, now I care. So now let's figure this out. I'd be much more invested. Until then, I just don't care. But I agree that it's funny how we've been conditioned to imagine the worst insult to say to somebody is that you're dumb as a flat earther. Like, who cares, dude? Let flat earthers believe what they want to believe. Who cares? Have a nice discussion with them, but don't argue with them. Who cares, dude? Who cares? Let them have it. Let them have it. Argue with people about things that are absolute, like salvific law. Argue with them about biblical essentials. Don't argue with them about the four corners of the earth being an illustration or being a dramatic thing. Don't do that. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Don't argue about non-essentials. That is why Christianity sucks. In simple terms, people arguing about non-essential things in the Bible is why Christianity is a crap religion, is why it's garbage. And it's so broken and it's so torn into a million different pieces is because all of us were like, well, it says four corners. Well, now let's split the church because we can't agree on this. Who cares? Who cares? Split the church on essential doctrine. Essential doctrine. The minute it affects salvation, it's essential. We weren't calling anyone dumb. Flat Earth are calling us names. Well, he subscribed, so he's probably going to be back. Timothy. They both, it was a snooty back and forth. Ghost did a good job of saying chill. He did his thing. He stayed fairly academic. He just went back and forth. I didn't see any name calling, so whatever that reference is, I don't get it because I didn't see that. I saw them being kind of testy with each other, but that was about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're allowed to be a little bit emotional having a conversation. That is okay. But if somebody snaps, that's a different story. Also, important to note, Disney is literally its own world. Can't see anything from outside the park. No airlines can go overhead. It's incredibly protected. Is that true? Can you really not fly an airplane over Disney World? Like, is that something we have verified? Because I've heard that, but I don't care that I've heard it. I want it to be verified. I want the FDA flight paths. Yep, couldn't have enough fuel to go to the moon proper thrust land on moon nor launch again, and especially launch again. Okay, here's the thing. And then I'm going to get going here in like 10 minutes. Here is my hot take, because I've been pretty non-conspiratorial so far. I feel like I've done a very good job of not going into my conspiratorial views. Here's the thing, though. I don't believe we've gone to space. I just don't. I think they're totally lying. And then you hear all these stories about people finding the astronauts like later in life. And then NASA has these stories about like, oh no, it just happens that 30% of the few people that went to the moon, they have twins, yo. They have twins. It's not, we didn't lie. They have twins. I just don't, man. I don't believe we went to the moon. I don't. If we were to be breached, we'd burn to a crisp. Yeah, that's the idea, right? The atmosphere is what saves us from that hot ass sun. It's what saves us. The UN logo is a red herring. They're trolling. It's 5D chess, bro. No, but isn't there something though? Hold on. Unless I came across just a total troll thing and was like, oh, that's interesting. You're probably right. Honestly, I'm more inclined to believe you, Go. I'm looking. I feel like there was something they had, but I think it's just like, would it be that out of line for you to like artistically depict the Earth in a flat way, like a blueprint? It's like people, I sketch blueprints for construction. That's part of now, again, it's part of my job. It was my job for years though. It's flat. The buildings are not flat. It's an artistic depiction of the building. So would it be that out of line for like a big corporation or the UN, even whether it's true or not, because Ghost is saying it's a troll, but whether it's true or not, would it be that out of line for them to depict the Earth, the United Earth, which is what the United Nations is supposed to be promoting, in a flat thing rather than showing it as like a literal sphere? I wouldn't think it's that weird. We do it all the time for buildings. Nobody thinks it's weird then. The known planet is a very small part of the actual Earth. Whoa, what? The known planet is a very small part of the actual Earth. The powers we know are one power fighting other known verses. Gordon, please expand. I would like to know more about the known planet being a very small part of the actual Earth. I would also like to know more about the powers we know are one power fighting other known verses. I'm intrigued. Please explain. I agree with radiation belt, but still like to believe we have technology to get past for short periods. I just want Elon to take us to Mars, and I want Dogecoin to be the currency of Mars. That's all I really care about. Maybe positive. Reach brother. I hope Tim comes back. He has some good points. Just didn't like them being called a jackass. Fair. Oh, was the jackass the word, the bad thing? I mean, I think Ghost has thick enough skin to be called a jackass. I'm glad Ghost has thick enough skin to be called a jackass. I think we get past it when we die. That's interesting. So do you think we physically leave the Earth then, Ghost? You don't think it's a spiritual thing? That's interesting. I'd be very curious to see more about that. So Ghost thinks that when we die, we go past the atmosphere. Born Floridian. Base take. Ghost Bait brought balance to the discussion, for sure. He always does. He has been a fantastic addition to this whole thing. Okay, he's been nothing but just fabulous. 100%. Everyone, everywhere living, someone had to come out and say something. There are whistleblowers everywhere. Yeah, but they did. Wait, is that in reference to my ramble about astronauts being found later? No, the UN logo actually is the flat Earth. I'm just saying they did that deliberately as a bait. Okay, and that's what I was talking about earlier. Is like, I feel like some of these big, elites, if you want to use the word, They egg on the conspiracies. So then that leaves you in one of two places. Are they doing it in order to make the crazies look crazier? Or are they doing it to be putting truth out in plain sight? Not with flat earth, because I think most of us agree on flat earth, but with other things. They do these things in plain sight. And I feel like it's just so you don't see it, or so you become conditioned to it. It wasn't regarding y'all's. Sorry, I hadn't removed. It was sent at those and to let others know regarding them doing stuff and such. I'm sorry, Timothy. That makes no sense. Unless I'm being slow right now. Try to slow down so it comes out the way you're intending it to come out. I'm glad to see you back, though. Genuinely. You should have a convo with Founded Earth Brothers. That would be a good show. Is that like a podcast or something? I got asked to go on some small podcast. I think they want to try to back me into a corner on Christianity, and I'm all about it. So I'll be doing that soon. Oh, him's sake. What's going on, man? If people knew that we live in a firmament, they would have to surrender to the idea of a God. Why is that true? I mean, of a God. Okay, yeah, true. Of a God. I mean, either way, you have to surrender to the idea of a God. Nothing, something cannot come from nothing. So says science. The atheist belief in and of itself is so nonsensical. It's ridiculous. It was Nick who called me a jackass, not Tim. Oh, my bad. My bad. And Nick is gone. Well, that's fine. That makes a lot more sense, actually, too. Because he was very into the things that he was saying. No, it's spiritual. I think we go to the core, which generates the field we travel on upon death. So let me push back on that, Ghost, because here I have very different views of spirituality. So to me, spirituality is an entirely different thing on an entirely different plane. So, which is always very hard to explain. But once you die, I believe your spirit leaves your body, whatever that looks like, but it goes somewhere that you could not conceive because it's not a part of this plane of reality, right? So like, I don't believe it goes to the core. I don't believe it goes past the atmosphere. I don't believe the soul is anywhere here anymore. I believe once you die, there's a separation of you and this world as a whole. And your soul, your spirit, it goes completely somewhere else. So like our plane of reality, when you're alive, you're here too. And then once you die, you go to a different plane of reality. And you're no longer on the earth, near the earth, in the atmosphere. There's no longer oxygen. There's no nothing. You're somewhere entirely different, where there are things or energies that you could never conceive as a human because we've never experienced them as a human. Tim, I'm glad you're here. Sorry, I was mistaken, but Nick had good points as well. If the earth is flat and we've been indoctrinated to believe otherwise, what does that say about all other things we're unable to question without judgment? Well, that's the issue, right? That's the issue. Let's say flat earthers are absolutely cuckoo, which I'm not saying, but let's say they are. Let's say they're absolutely crazy. It makes it hard then if we start to question something else that seems just as crazy, but is absolutely true. It makes it difficult. It's a dilemma of sorts. Operation Fishbowl, stress testing the dome. You don't imagine you'd ground out like a lightning bolt? No. If that was in reference to my explanation of what happens when you die, no, I don't. I think you immediately become removed from this world, from this reality, is a better way to phrase it. I believe your spirit lives in a different reality. It's the cloud we are saved on, awaiting our new body, just my take. Yeah, which is it's not an uncommon take for sure. I totally understand. I have a very uncommon take. I get that I'm very much outside of the normal Christianity fields. He means greater earth and our known is inside a crater filled with seawater. I and others do have words regarding everything in this and everything else. Okay. All right. No way there is a Tesla floating in space. Oh, here we go. Anyone who believes that will never need a colonoscopy because they already have a great view of what's up there. Dang. Brutal. So you think Elon Musk is a liar. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. I'm hoping he takes us to Mars if Mars exists. I do. All maps are derived from flat angle measurements to Polaris with a sextant. It's all described in celestial navigation documents. Okay, I'm being quiet. I'm just going to listen while y'all's and everyone, with y'all's and everybody. I was on everybody out there. God bless. Timothy, I don't know why you got to be quiet. I have a hard time understanding what you're saying. And maybe that's just me. Maybe everybody else is like tracking right along with you. And maybe I am just not understanding. That would not surprise me at all. I'm not sure I believe that about the Tesla. Jalen, you don't think there's a Tesla in space? Come on, guys, let's be real. There is definitely a Tesla in space. You leave Krishna's dream. I think the universe has a node network where a node exists on every scale. Nodes would be atomic nuclei, pineal glands, planet cores, stars. I get that. I do. I just have a hard time thinking spirituality is like that simplistic, or that spirituality relates that much to our current world. Like those are the nodes, atomic nuclei, pineal glands, planet cores, stars, galactic black holes. These are all things we can already conceive because we've developed technology or done the research to be able to understand them with our brain, right? With our mind. Yes, Kip is up here with me. I have a really hard time believing that the spiritual world has anything that even could possibly resemble things that we have already conceived. Because to me, that seems way too small. Like that makes spirituality small. That makes God, to me, seem very small. It doesn't make sense to me. I get it. I get it. And I get that I'm one of a very small minority of people that don't, subscribe to that or similar beliefs. But I can't. It doesn't make sense to me. It's not called the Great Deception for nothing. That's true. Jesus returns bodily, hence he must have set up a mechanism to re-upload us into physical bodies. Jesus saves literally. I mean, true, but it's still in a box. You're still putting it in a box, in my opinion. I agree to a point, but those are still boxes of things that are conceivable. I'm way somewhere else. I don't think anything is conceivable. I think what Jesus doesn't really bear any weight of reflection on what we are capable or able to do, either before or after death, because the idea from a Christian perspective is that Jesus was God. So why would we have the ability to do things that Jesus was able to do? I have a hard time with that. That'd be totally cool, though. Yeah, it'd be real sweet if there was a Tesla in space. I don't think I believe there's one up there either, though. I believe there's a Dodge Nova in space. Hell yes. A 1970s Dodge Nova. Did they even make them back then? The horizon is not Earth's curve. Then what is the horizon? The Bible describes the moon and the sun as separate lights. So what? The sky will roll back like a scroll. Scrolls unroll flat. The devil took Jesus to a high hill where they could see all the kingdoms of the world. Sounds kind of flat. We went over those. You must not have been here for them. We talked about the high mountain. Where's the high mountain? Dumb cat. Where we went with that was if there was a mountain that you could see all kingdoms from, where is the mountain? There is no mountain where you're able to visibly see everything. That was a very simplistic answer, right? Light energy is just light energy. It's not spiritual. Sure. So, you gonna introduce him or keep him hidden like he's not the cutest dude around here? Kip, come here. Come here, bud. Come here, bud. Come up on this chair. Come here. Please don't make this difficult. Get up on the chair. Cat, can you come put him on the chair? What about the pilots that take videos and it does show a curve? Are they all purposely making it up? It's spaghetti time. God, that sounds so good. I'm so hungry. Cat, what's for dinner? The universe is a box. Ein Sof, the Father, is outside of that box. Chevy made Novas. Yeah, but the Nova was out in the 70s. Oh, because did you say Dodge Nova? Yeah. Yeah, don't be offended, Ghost. She's a car freak. She loves cars more than she loves me or any of the animals in the house. And now I'm afraid she's going to walk in behind me and I'm not going to notice. The continental overlaps. If they are separate lights, this means that the moon isn't reflecting the sun's light. Yeah, so we go back to the same issue we had earlier. If the Bible tells you that the sun and the moon are separate lights, why do you want to take that literally? Why is that statement literal when I would argue, I mean, close to 50% of the Bible is not literal. I'd say it's on the lower end, so more like 30 to 50, but a large portion of the Bible is not literal. So why and where and with what justification do you choose to take certain statements in the Bible as literal? That's the actual question. Whether they're two separate lights is almost beside the point. Why do you want to take that as a literal statement? Is my question, Robert. Horizon is a limitation of your vision, your eye zone. Yeah. It's the idea, right? Wait, I just looked it up, Kat. It was Dodge. You are fake news. No way. It was Chevy Nova. It was totally Chevy Nova. Did they both make a Nova? Chevy Nova. Did Dodge make a Nova too? No, it is Chevy Nova. It's a Chevy Nova, bro. I don't know what Google you're using, but Google is lying to you. If they're separate, the curve thing has to do with the light and such. Yeah, it's like, I remember watching a video about it. It explained it. And it makes sense. And you can test it to a degree with water and with a flashlight or something. I watched a video about. So you can do like small samples of testing how like light bends and how it bends and connects with your eye. I mean, you can put them on the chair or you can not. It's up to you. We're going to get off in a few minutes though. But we could probably find more with opposing views. Who do we believe? What do you mean, Jalen? Did I miss something? I don't see anything above that. What about the pilots that take videos? Oh, about the pilots? You could find more with the opposing view? Who's trying about... Ghost is arguing with you. He just doesn't know who he's arguing with about cars. So put him down softly. Put him down softly. That's all I ask. Because he's a very nice fellow. Nova in Planet of the Apes was hot. Wow, that's a good question because it seems obvious. But the terminology, you can't say self-evident. What is that evidence? The literal stuff is the things that aren't analogies. Yes, but the problem is what is an analogy is what is not an analogy. There is a massive sect of scholarly theological individuals who take Genesis as absolutely not literal. But if you were to go out and interview 100 pastors who are teaching the humans out in society, they, more of them than not, by a great number, would tell you that Genesis is literal. So it's to say it's self-evident would be crazy because there's no consensus among scholarship. The smartest individuals on the planet in terms of biblical studies, linguistic studies, and theological studies, they don't agree. So I don't think any individual like us, I went to seminary and I would never put myself in the category of people that would ever say anything in the Bible is self-evident. Almost nothing is self-evident. And the further we get away from when the Bible is actually written, the less self-evident everything becomes. Because our entire world keeps changing and getting so much further away and harder to interpret and harder to understand and harder to go in their shoes and have any idea what the hell they were talking about. It makes it super, super difficult. But Genesis is just an example. Is it literal? Is it an analogy, an illustration, a figurative? Is it a story that is meant to help us understand what happened, but none of it actually happened that way? It's hard. Most of the population believes Genesis happened exactly how it happened. I think that's a pretty wild belief, personally. What are you doing? I think it's a wild thing to believe. But I get it, and I don't hate on people who believe it. It reads like poetry. A lot of people who study Hebrew, if you compare it to other poetry during the time, it's pretty similar. So why would you take it literal?
We got caught. Hide. Hide.
There's a dog and a girl.
There you go.
There you go.
Nope.
There is no such thing as a sky vacuum. Can't have a pressurized system next to a vacuum without containment. That I know that from work, actually. Flat Earth Brothers is a Christian FE channel. They're cool. Oh God, so they're pro Flat Earth, I assume. Is he on the desk?
He's
yeah,
on the
he
desk.
is. Hey, bud.
Is that better?
Hey, friend. Yeah. Hey, buddy.
Can I go outside?
You gotta go outside. The planet expanded from within itself, proving creation in the Bible is only possible. What? Proving creation int T Bible is only possible thing. Disproving everything contrary. Gordon, can you rephrase that? Because I got lost in the middle when the typos came in. His own words. I will personally respond with my face on camera. Yeah, you sure did. How do you get to popcorn? We know the science as to why and why it progressed as it did. People are obsessed with space. That should be a red flag. Humpty Dumpty can be pieced back together, guaranteeing creation is precariously absolutely fact. You just mean creation as a concept? Like intelligent design, like intelligent creation? I always forget there's a lag. So by the time I see stuff, it's like a minute later. He's a very good boy. The best boy. The planet expanded from within itself, proving creation in the Bible is the only possible thing. How do you figure, Gordon? How do you figure? The story of Genesis? I could think of a 1,000 different stories similar to Genesis that, by what you're saying, would still apply. I don't think the way that the planet expanded from within itself has anything to do with corresponding integrity of the book of Genesis as a literal understanding. I don't see that at all. You can try to explain more, but I don't see that at all. Biblical creation. I mean, yeah, Humpty, that's not a good answer, though. Humpty Dumpty is not a good answer. Plus physics is also not a good answer. So the book of Genesis, as it reads, is the only possible scenario of how creation came to be due to this idea of planet expansion from within itself. That makes no sense. None. I saw the moon landings on TV. Yes, I am old. That was over 50 years ago, still waiting. That's what I'm saying, dumb cat. And I don't know if you were here before, but I made a comment that I do not believe we've been to space. Because here's my issue. If we've been to space, why the hell have we not been back? We have AI that can drive cars. It can literally manufacture products. And it is so smart that it is able to call Chase Bank and get them to release funds of your account on its own. So with all these things, why have we not gone back to space? Why? It's one conspiracy that I do buy into. I do not think we've gone to space. I really just don't. I watched the Challenger, not that old. I'll leave a comment in the video. Okay, yeah, do that. Send me what you're looking at. But I'll tell you, man, Genesis being literal or not literal is probably one of the topics I've spent more time on in my life, both pre and post seminary, than anything else. Just because it interested me. And I feel very confident with where I stand. But I'm always open to new information. So if you throw something just astronomically out of left field at me, I will be absolutely honest and tell you if it sways me at all. Wright brothers flew in 1908. By 1939, the first transatlantic flight happened. That's only 36 years later. It's been over 50 years since we went to the moon, quote unquote, and we have gone nowhere. That's exactly right. That is precisely my issue. I do not believe we've gone to the moon. I just don't. I think it's trash. I think it's trash. Because we've been too busy spying on our own people with satellites. I mean, true, but the government is capable of multitasking. I feel like they could send us to the moon and invade our personal privacy in an illegal manner with no problem. But that's just me. That's just me. We're going to start winding down because I am very hungry. So I'm going to start working my way towards shoving some food in my face. The official reason they say we didn't go back to space is because we lost the papers. Yeah, that, and they said we don't have the technology. Like, dude, what? We don't have the technology. So we had it in what, the 80s or whatever? It was like the 80s, right? I don't know. I don't care. So I apologize. Some of you space happy people, I'm sorry if I said the wrong, but I think it's the 80s. But I really don't know. But either way, we had the technology back then. But now we just don't have the technology. We don't have it. Elon Musk is building roads underground in Nevada, but we don't have the technology. Gonna peace out, y'all. Drop some stuff in the Discord when I get some time. Yes, please do. You are the man, Ghost. It was very lovely having you this evening. Hopefully see you Sunday. Such a lame excuse that NASA came up with. It's not even an excuse. Like it's not even a good pandering. Like, at least pander to the American. Thanks, Cat. 60s. So we had the technology in the 60s. We don't have the technology in 2023. Shout out to JFK. I've been following the flat Earth debate for 8 years. Many of the best FE channels and videos have been intentionally buried. I was talking about that. Yes. So I talked about that at the beginning. So you weren't here. You missed a lot. But that was part of my preface, is that you have all of the big social media companies like YouTube, Meta, Facebook, that whole side of things, including Google, who obviously owns YouTube. I was saying that like 5 years ago and beyond, it was super easy to find flat Earth content from the perspective of positivity. People who believed in flat Earth. It was really easy to find. Super easy to find. Then as of like 5 years ago to 3 years ago, it became impossible to find. So the algorithms absolutely bury it. They absolutely bury it. Even on Google, it's impossible to find anything, man. It's impossible to find. It all gets buried. And so I had said, like, if you want to find out about flat Earth now, you have to go to TikTok because their algorithms function solely based on what will people watch. We do not care how damaging it is. We do not care if it goes against the government. We do not care if it's highly religious. We don't care. We want watches. We want clicks. We want people to watch it till the end. That is all that TikTok cares about, which is good. But at the same time, it's why TikTok is a freaking shit show. Excuse my language. It's absolutely atrocious because there's no boundaries. There's no limits. So you have all of this crazy cuckoo land religious stuff on TikTok that's just absolutely insane. Shannon, I love you. Have a good night. Floof, Jules, enjoy your spaghetti. We're off in 9 minutes tops. I gotta go eat. History is an agreed upon lie. God, one of the best quotes in all of history is history is an agreed upon lie. It's there. Almost nothing is as true as that. Almost everything we know, it's just absolute trash. Complete lie, complete lie, complete lie. Wild. Absolutely wild. All right, guys, anything else you guys got? Last call here. I've seen spaghetti come up 3 times. I'm like dying. I'm starving. Shannon, we love you. You're beautiful. You're fabulous. Tell your husband it was nice to see him in there for a few minutes at the beginning. Last minute stuff, though. Last minute stuff. Now that I know we have some people here who were not here before, so quick reminder, and I'll get you guys a link again. If you do not know, we have a Discord that everybody kind of hangs out in just all week, but that is also where we post the events. So every Sunday night, we have a Bible study, and every Thursday night, which is right now, we do these kind of topic discussions. So the way that works is I love you, Jeremiah. I post a poll in Discord. You're the man. Thank you. The man. We post a poll in Discord. You can see that, an example of it here. I'll post a poll. If you have alerts on, you'll get notified. Him's sake, you're the man. And that's so cute. Is that a pear? That's totally a pear. It's a dancing and possibly in a foot race pear because he's got the headband, right? Or am I just not? He's got the headband. It's adorable. All right, focus. So I post a poll once a week. I'll post it either tonight or tomorrow. And then you guys have until like Monday-ish to vote on what we do. As you can see here, Flat Earth was F. Flat Earth blew all of the rest of them out of the water. But the point is, you guys control what these Thursday discussions are. It's not me. It's you guys. So that's always in the announcements. But they have the sections in here. You got off topic, theology, culture, news, conspiracy, Bible, the library, which is just literature. VIP, you don't have to worry about unless you want to donate. That was super delayed and real loud in my ears, but still kind of nice. Okay. Beyond that, we also have like a prayer section. So you're able to, I'm going to go soon. Just give me 2 seconds. You're able to submit a prayer. You can submit them privately, which means only the prayer team and myself can see them, or you can submit them publicly. So Sunday night after the Bible study, I will pray publicly on the stream, and all of those get covered that way. So it's just a chance to kind of get more people's eyes and ears on something you need prayer for. The red section is the live chat. So if you wanted to talk on Thursday, like with your voice into your phone, you could join this event chat where you see Shannon is right now. Her and I were talking before the stream. You can come in there, and then I'll unmute you, and you and I can talk like normal people with our voices, which I wish we would do more of. And then down here is like games and memes and, you know, all sorts of whatever jazz down there. But I put a link in there. It's right above the dancing pear, which is just absolutely lovely. Thank you, him. And that's that. So if you guys don't have anything else, we are going to be out of here for the night. Beautiful. All right. I love you guys. Everybody have a great night. I'm shutting down. I will put that poll up within the next 24 hours. And I'll put some good topics in there. Thanks for everything in him's sake.